Hey guys, this is JackoBuddy with BreakBlock.org, coming with you now with part 7 of our Game Maker Studio tutorial on the game Maze Man. This is the tutorial series that's set more for beginners. If you have been watching since part 1, we're going to be picking up where we left off. If you're just now joining us, you may want to track back to part 1. You can find all the parts on our YouTube channel or on our website, BreakBlock.org, because this is a continuous series and we are working off of a single project. Alright guys, for those of you who are back with us after part 6, we're going to be working on our scoreboard today. Basically with the idea of when a player plays our game, they have a limited number of moves and they're trying to rack up points and they have no idea how many moves they have left or how many moves they've made. So we're going to make it so where people can tell how much they're moving and how many points they're racking up, all this good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and run it real quick just to be kind of a refresher for where we're at. As you can see, whenever we move around, we're picking up stuff and we're using up our moves, and we have no idea how many moves we have until that happens. And we run out of moves. Cool, you didn't tell me I had a limited number of moves. So we're going to go ahead and do a little scoreboard today. This part isn't too complicated. It does involve a little bit of code, and I'm going to show you that and give you a chance to type it up. It's one kind of long line of code. Not too difficult. We're going to go ahead and tackle that, and then we're going to look at getting everything set up for our final few parts of this tutorial series. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to go to our object level 1 control object that we made on our one of the last parts. And the first thing that we need to do with this object is, since we're going to be making our text appear from this object, we actually need to check our visible box again, because if we leave that unchecked, then we draw the text is going to be invisible, and invisible text really doesn't do much good for anybody. So we need to go ahead and do that. And then after that, we're going to go to add event, and we're going to add our draw event. And the draw event is where you have to be kind of careful, because this event occurs many times a second. And if you put too much code in your draw event, you're going to slow down your program, or even cause it to crash and hang up, things like that, make lag. So you gotta be careful, but this is a very good event for drawing things like your heads-up display and your menus and things like that, because it's always drawing this on the screen. So as soon as you rack up points, it's going to redraw it because it's continually refreshing. So that's kind of the idea. It's a continually refreshing event. So we're going to go ahead and go here, and the first thing that we need to do is go to our control tab, and we're going to add a new piece of code right here, our execute code. And it's going to bring up our code editor, and I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste over the line of code. That way you don't have to sit here and watch me type it. And then what I recommend is go ahead and pause the video if you need to and type up this line of code so that you can have the same thing that I have. And if your object names are different, just make sure that they turn red like this, because you can see like object player was my name, so it turned red when I typed it. So if yours are not red, you may have named your object a little differently. So just make sure all that lines up and just not indicating any errors. And then whenever you got that typed up, then we're going to continue on. So I'll go ahead and pause a second here so you can type. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on now. Like I said, if you need a minute more to type the code, go ahead and pause the video or back it up. And we're going to go ahead and checkbox out of our code. And that's going to draw our basic code, but right now it's not going to look very attractive. If we go ahead and run it, let's see, we'll run our code, give it a set to compile. And you see we got it at the top right there, and it's moving, it's doing its job. Well, let's face it, that looks disgusting. I mean, that just looks a lot gross. I mean, no one's going to want to play a game that looks like that. So we're going to go ahead and do a little cleanup on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new resource over here in our left little resource panel, and we're going to be creating a font. So we're going to go and go to fonts and do create font. I'm going to leave my font as Arial, but if you would like to use a different font, you can scroll through here and you can see all these different wacky fonts that they have in here. But I usually kind of stick with the Arial because it's a good solid font that's easy to read. Any aliasing, we're going to leave that at 3 because that makes our letters look smoother. And for the size, I'm going to go ahead and do 16. It's a good size font that's pretty easy to read, but it's not too big either. It's not going to clutter up the screen. So we're going to do 16, and we're going to go ahead and X out. Oh, actually, I apologize. Before we leave, we need to name it something appropriate. So we're going to do font underscore score, like that. That way we know what this font is being used for. It's being used for our scoreboard. I want to X out, hit save, all that good stuff. And then we're going to go back to our object level 1 control. And then you're going to need to go down to the very last tab down here at the bottom, draw. And then under settings, you have this little box right here with the 2 T's, set font. Drag that and put it at the top before your text drawing event. And then of course for your font, you're going to select font score, hit OK. And then one other thing we're going to do as well before we test it out is we're going to go ahead and right next to that you have this little paint palette right here, set color. Grab that and drag it either before or after the font set. It doesn't matter, just make sure it's before your draw or before you execute a piece of code. Click the little button right here to the right of your color and it'll give you this color palette. I found on my game with my graphics yellow was a good color, but depending on your color scheme and all that you're using for your game, you may want to select different colors, so that's totally up to you. Hit OK. We're going to hit OK. We're going to hit save, and we're going to go ahead and run it. And it's running, and there it is. Now that is a little more attractive looking, I would say. That's a scoreboard I can get behind. You can see every time we move, the moves taken section is counting up. Moves allowed is staying at 25. If we go up to that, it's going to get mad at us. My score's going up. When I finish, you can see there it is. There it is. And now it's looking a little bit more like a video game. Now when you send it to your friend, he's not going to get all mad at you and go, "You didn't tell me I couldn't move more times. You didn't know." Now he can't say that anymore. A few things. If you think that the font's too close together, if you come into our line of code again, you can see where we have this space. I can put like, 2 more lines right there or 2 more little spaces. Smack your space bar. And then you'll see when I rerun it, there's going to be a little more space there because it's very literal on how it reads these strings. So every little white space matters. See, now they're further apart. That may be a little easier for a player to read. Not quite as cluttered up. You're welcome to experiment with that in any way you want. Get it to how you want, have it say what you want. You can mess with the font and the colors. That's always a little bit fun to, kind of change how your interface looks. But that's going to give you a nice basic scoreboard so people who are playing your game know kind of what's going on and can function on your game. We're not going to do anything else on this tutorial because I mainly just wanted to kind of go over that and then get you set up so that when we come back for the next tutorial, we can really start making some push towards the end. What you're going to need to do before the next time is make at least 2 more levels in your game. And the best way I recommend doing that, just because all your room settings are going to be the same every room you go, is right click on your room and do duplicate. And then rename it to like room, mine's going to be level 2, like that. And then something that you're going to want to make sure to remember as well is you have your room 1 controller right here. Make sure you right click and delete that or use the hotkey. And then come over here, duplicate your object level 1 control. Change it to object level 2 control, like so. And then once you make your level, you need to change this move limit to whatever the move limit should be for that room. If you don't do that, then you're not going to have that right number. Also, you're going to want to make sure you add your level 2 control into your room so that you have those variables and you have that table. One thing nice about the fact that we added the font, one reason I did it first, is when you run these rooms again, if you're not seeing your scoreboard at the top, you probably forgot to add this back in. Because if that's not there, it's not going to be drawing that scoreboard. But the level 2, like whenever I change this, it's going to change it at the top automatically. So if my new level only needs 5 moves, then I can change that variable to 5 and it'll change it to 5 at the top for me automatically. It'll take care of all the work for me. A nice little thing with variables in Game Maker. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and leave you with that. Just make sure you have at least 3 levels before we come back, all with that level control object in it. And then whenever we come back, we're going to look at progressing to the next level. And then when we get to the last level, we're going to move it back to a main menu that we're also going to create. And I'll show you how to make the main menu room and make your buttons. Real simple. Like I said, we're really winding down on this tutorial. Only a few parts left, guys, so keep up the good work. I ask that if you're enjoying these videos, you go ahead and hit like on them so we can get the word out to more people so that they can learn GameMaker as well, and go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can check us out at breakblock.org, our full website. And last but not least, if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, you can drop me an email at my email, jacobuddy@breakblock.org. But until next time, guys, good luck designing your levels and happy programming.